All right, Tim Walz doubling down on the fact he is not smart enough to be vice president of the largest economy in the world with the biggest venture capitalist scene on earth. Here he is essentially bragging he doesn't know what a venture capitalist is.
That place where he grew up, rather than lifting it up. This guy's a venture capitalist cosplaying like he's a cowboy or something. I don't even know what a venture capitalist does most of the time.
So that's just that. You can't say that if you're running to be vice president in the United States with the biggest venture capitalist scene by far. It's very important. Funding ideas. I'm gonna have my thoughts after I play this clip, because he doubles down on this. This is not something you should be bragging about. I mean, he says it a little bit different of a way, but this one might actually be worse because it shows even more ignorance this guy has about basically just how the world works.
When you speak to these voters, a lot of them are former.
By the way, I think Tim Walz also had a teleprompter. I'm like very convinced he had a teleprompter. I just made another video. I think he was cheating throughout this entire The View episode. I'll have that video linked down in the description. I'm totally convinced he was just blatantly cheating.
Former core Democratic voters think the Clinton coalition, but many have become a big part of Donald Trump's base. What is your message to win those voters back?
Yeah, it is true. I represented one of the last districts where Donald Trump won by nearly 20 points, and I was still elected to Congress. Look, these are folks that are concerned that these areas have been left behind. We've seen an economy that shifted some of these jobs. I make the case that's because of people, venture capitalists like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, that move these jobs out of there. But we need to talk to them about what impacts their lives, what is going to make their life better. So it's those.
So first of all, Donald Trump is not a venture capitalist, and he never has done that. Maybe he's done little investments in his entire life. He's not just been a venture capitalist for any period in his life, unless I'm not aware of what he did for like a 5-year period. Nobody thinks of Donald Trump as a venture capitalist. He's a real estate guy. He's a media guy. Tim Walz just doesn't know what this means. It's like the cartoon version of if you're like a person that got your first job, like you're a first-year university student, and you just equate the word venture capitalist with rich person. A venture capitalist is someone that puts investments in startup companies or very small companies and puts generally a bunch of investments out. It's a very important thing, actually. I mean, maybe you could say, oh, they make a lot of money, but they put very small investments in a whole bunch of different companies, generally like very innovative, kind of be on the frontier, cutting edge companies, and only a small percentage of those actually work. It's incredibly important. He's like basically trashed the industry multiple times. It's very important for America to maintain the American dominance in terms of having the biggest military, funded by the world's largest economy. But he doesn't know what it is. Donald Trump's not a venture capitalist. J.D. Vance, I think, was, but he just equates that with a rich dude. And the other part about him, they're sending jobs overseas because of this?
Jobs. I make the case that's because of these are folks that are concerned that these areas have been left behind. We've seen an economy that shifted some of these jobs. I make the case that's because of people, venture capitalists like.
You make the case. You have no idea what case you're making. Venture capitalists who fund smaller companies in the hopes that some of them become incredibly powerful and big, like unicorn companies. That's not sending jobs overseas. Maybe you could argue private equity in certain cases will do something like that, like some activist investor or something that's not a venture capitalist will invest in an existing company with a structure and say, okay, maybe send some of these jobs overseas for cheaper labor. But that's not all cases, cheaper labor. But that's not all cases. That's like, you could probably find examples of that, but the people that are sending jobs overseas, it's not venture capitalists. This guy has no idea what he's talking about. I don't work in that industry either, but it's not that difficult to understand that there are people that make investments in like seed companies or startup companies. So this is just so dumb. And what would that function have to do with sending jobs overseas? That makes no sense. This is total misinformation. He just has no clue what he's talking about. The funniest thing about this clip is he just equates rich guy Donald Trump with some word I heard once to describe a rich person. I'll just say venture capitalist. Like did he just watch the movie Wedding Crashers? And when the Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson are pretending to be venture capitalists? Is that where he's getting this from? That's just a rich person? This is supposed to be the vice president of the United States? Doesn't know what he's talking about. Anyway, with that said, I'll finish the video here. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Have a great day.